Our society has a problem, and it's bumming us all out. Right now, we can't communicate or socialize in the ways that we usually do. There are no shopping malls open, no concerts to attend, and no restaurants to sit down at and have a meal. It's in moments like this that we're reminded that these social spaces aren't just fun, they're needed for our mental sanity. And when we can no longer rely on these experiences that we once took for granted, we recognize how vital they and the community they brought truly are. Now, with that being said, humans are resilient. We adapt, we modify our behavior, and we press on. Instead of seeing people in person, now we're talking to each other through digital mediums like video calls and social media. But there are a few problems with moving communication entirely into digital spaces. The first problem is that, well, they're just kind of weird. When you sit down and talk with someone at a coffee shop, your focus is on them and the words that are flowing between you. When you're on a video call, it's surprisingly hard to stop looking at your own face. And if you manage to do that, the nature of the environment and your too often spotty Wi-Fi connection leave you feeling worried that what you're trying to say just isn't getting across. The second problem is that our current social media platforms don't really give you the same type of interactions that you're used to having in person. Talking with someone on a social media platform like Instagram has more in common with a walkie-talkie than it does a coffee date with the I talk, you talk, I talk, you talk rhythm of conversation. Yet both of these problems are simple compared to an even larger issue, and that's what's required of you online in order to be present. In a physical space, your body being there is enough to make you feel connected. If you're standing in a stadium or a theater side by side with other people, you're participating in the act of being in a crowd. Everyone is there, feeling a sense of togetherness just because of proximity. This is true even in small gatherings. You might go to a friend's house and spend the entire time hanging out alone on a couch, but you know that others are around you and they know that you're there too. I personally get a ton of happiness out of just going to a coffee shop and enjoying my coffee alone. I might not talk to anybody, but I am around everybody, and that makes me feel connected. The sad truth is that on the internet, if you aren't posting, you don't exist. And that's a real problem. There's a quote from Gia Tolentino from her book Trick Mirror that I really think encapsulates that so well. She argues that the internet isn't defined by community or collective thought, but by a built-in performance incentive. She continues to say that in real life you can walk around and be visible to other people, but you can't just walk around and be visible on the internet. For anyone to see you, you have to act. This has been a big part of what's made the lack of community we're currently experiencing so heartbreaking. Because of the way that the internet and social media platforms work, we've linked the act of publishing and the act of socializing together. For those who feel fatigued by putting themselves out there, this has made the current situation exhausting. But there's some good news. Right now we can see a glimpse of a better solution. It's one that doesn't require us to worry about how we look, and it's one that doesn't require us to only have limited back and forth interactions. Even more importantly, it's one that doesn't require us to publish to be seen or noticed. And this glimpse isn't on social media, it's on the emerging platforms of video games. At this point, everyone has become familiar with the idea of video games as a space to hang out instead of shoot each other. And that's in major part due to the popularity and success of Fortnite. The recent event that they had with Travis Scott is a great example of this, a concert-like experience which allowed both the artist and the audience to express themselves in tangible ways. To watch it unfold was to understand Astroworld through the mind of Travis Scott, perhaps in a way that was more vivid than an in-person concert. In a physical space, the artist is constrained by real-world limitations, the stage, the props, the budget. But in Fortnite, these constraints disappeared, allowing Travis Scott to appear literally larger than life, and the audience could express themselves because they weren't just passive watchers, but participants with dimension, moving about the map and experiencing what was happening kinetically and if they were watching with friends, communally. This event was really cool and I'm glad it happened, but I also believe it was just the start of what's possible. This particular event felt a little one-sided. It was a pre-programmed thing that you could watch but not necessarily influence. Sure, you participated and that's amazing, but the participation was entirely centered around the act of moving around, not doing. I believe that influencing the experience of others is a key part of what makes experiences feel truly communal. Digital spaces allow us to create our own social memories that are just as real as the ones that we make in the physical world. One of my first experiences with this was inside the now decade-old Grand Theft Auto 4 Online. The sandbox nature of Liberty City allowed me and my friends to just make up our own rules, objectives, and goals. We could do whatever we wanted. I have a vivid memory of taking control of a city bus, all of my friends getting in, and then someone having the absurd idea to reenact the plot of Speed. We got our wanted level up as high as possible, and then we took off with the premise that if the bus went under 50 miles an hour, a friend would be forced to shoot a rocket launcher off inside, blowing us all up. It was great, and it also had nothing to do with the plot or goals the game set up for us. There were missions and deathmatch style modes in this online world, but I don't have any memories of those. I only have the memory of that time that we all decided to recreate the plot of a Keanu Reeves movie. That's because it was my own memory, and that's what makes moments like this so unique. I think this is also a big part of why Battle Royale games have become such a popular genre. If you've ever played these, you know that the first 10 minutes are little more than a gear collecting simulator, but you're doing that collecting with friends. Unlike in a video call where you kind of have to just force the conversation forward, the goal of playing a game and moving through a map and collecting the best gear means that you have something to do, both when you want to talk and when you don't. Fortnite was able to make the natural leap from a Battle Royale game to an open world environment because it had created a platform or world in which the players felt comfortable just existing. The same can be said for a much more peaceful game that's currently seeing huge success, Animal Crossing. This game just feels enjoyable to live in. It's filled with so many activities that are fun when you're with others or when you're on your own. When we can't do the things that we normally do, like go to a friend's house, the alternative of visiting your friend's Animal Crossing island all of a sudden has a ton of appeal. What all of these digital experiences have in common is that they fix the problems that our current digital solutions face. When you inhabit the body of your Animal Crossing villager or a skin in Fortnite or a character in PUBG or Grand Theft Auto, you're thinking about the people around you instead of yourself, and you're interacting with real dimension. What you aren't doing is just as important. You aren't looking at your own face or waiting for them to respond or feeling forced to publish something in order to just be seen. Being a player embodied in a virtual world means that you can be confident that you're known by your community. You don't have to post a photo of yourself to get that attention. Just being there with them is enough. I believe that we've barely scratched the surface of what digital community can look like. In today's games, we're still disconnected from our digital bodies, and the things that we can do in the worlds feel rudimentary at best. And yet, what we're already doing shows how powerful these spaces can be. We aren't just attending concerts, we're hosting talk shows, we're holding funerals, we're celebrating birthdays, and most importantly, we're just being together. Taking a step into these virtual worlds gives us a glimpse into what the future of virtual community can hold, and I believe that it has the power to bring us closer than ever.